Welcome to the Leading with Love podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Arthurs. The purpose of this podcast is to touch your heart, expand your soul, and help us all be everything we came here to be. We have interviews with amazing humans and solo episodes as well, all made to bring more love, more joy, and wisdom into your day. It's a growing list, so check back often and let's dive right in. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. I'm really excited today because I have an incredible guest. This young man, since the moment I met him, has impressed me so much, and not just on a surface level, but heart and soul, the passion that he exhibits, the mission that he's on. He's young, he's in his 20s, and just to see someone so on fire and also, how shall I say this, just dedicated so much into his investment, into his mission and his own personal growth and development, that he's bringing skills and he's bringing people and he's drawing resources to himself to further this mission that he's on. And I just love that he includes everybody that he meets because he's just so lovable and passionate and approachable, and just he gets so lit up when he talks about everything that he's up to. So I'm really excited to share him with you today. And his name is Adam Avinas, and I'm really just so excited. So I'm going to bring him on right now. Let's welcome Adam.
Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate that. That's such a beautiful intro you just gave. And it's the same way. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but when people who have that same mission of just spreading love and bettering themselves and bettering humanity meet, it's just so easy. It just flows. And that's how it was as soon as we started talking. So I'm excited to be here.
Exactly. It's like when you meet soul family. We're all on the same team, and ultimately it feels like we're all on the same mission. And so you get past that icebreaker or sort of surface talk so quickly because you can feel each other's hearts. And that's the kind of conversation I like to have. It's the kind of conversation I have all day, every day. I kind of don't have time and space for anything less. And I know that you feel the same way. So let me make this about you and tell me about this mission that you're on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like you said, I have these conversations all day, every day now, and it is so exciting that I can be in that place. I first was introduced to personal development in general when I was in real estate. I think my first year, I met a life coach. She actually made me cry when I was in a boardroom with other realtors.
I love it.
And from there, I just read a bunch of books. It continued. And then to the point where, as you know, I kind of just wanted to make it my full-time thing. I wanted to help other people better their lives in the way that I had, help find alignment. We talk about mind, body, soul all the time, but I think that not a lot of people know how to do it on the soul level. Some people don't really know what that means. So I just started, I took a headfirst deep dive into all of this. I've been on this mission creating this app, as you know, where we're very close to launch. We are, we have a lot of different coaches and people in their own respective niche who are helping you with alignment, helping you learn more about yourself, with personal development, understanding spirituality. There's a lot to it, but it's become my mission full time. And like you said, there's a lot of people on board helping me, and we're all kind of moving towards that goal together now. So it's an exciting time for sure.
I love it. I love what you said about, I know the coach you're talking about. And I love that moment when you said that it pierced your heart. It made you cry. And this is what happens when you touch people's hearts and you ignite something in them that they forgot was there. Because we all have that, right? We all have this consciousness inside of us that is ready to open up, but it gets hidden and obscured and buried by all the minutiae of life and the patterns in our minds. And so this app that you're creating, what did you say? Something aligned? Forgive me.
Live aligned. Yeah.
Living aligned, live
Hmm.
aligned. I love
Yeah.
that. And you're using technology to open up people's hearts and to help them on their spiritual journey because it means so much to you. Do you know how incredible you are? This is what the world needs right now. It always has, but I feel like now people are ready for this. At least enough people that you're going to have such an incredible impact. And again, I will say the way that you draw people to you, I can see it. It's an energy, right? It's almost a magnetic energy. In fact, it is that draws people to you, and you're so clear on your mission and so passionate that I'm so excited to hear that you're launching soon. I'm looking forward to being a part of that myself. Um, so tell me about, okay, gosh, I have so many questions. I need to just think about what I want to ask you one thing at a time. So actually, I'm going to touch into something very personal here. You mentioned to me, and we've talked about you deciding to be sober, and that really deepened your path and opened up your spirituality. You said tripled, I think is the word that you used when we were talking about it. Tell me about that.
For sure. Yeah, it's something that, these days I love to talk about and I love to be open about, for the same reason we're talking about all this, right? That openness and transparency. I just hope that one person can hear this and, if they're curious, maybe it can open up their own dialogue of asking themselves questions about it and help someone else in some way. But I was curious about sobriety for years. Every single year I would take a month break from alcohol and everything and just kind of detox. And every single year I would feel so good that I wanted to continue. But after my month was up, I'd go back to partying. Um, and, this year I just decided, like, let's take this serious. So I got sober. It was a very awakening experience. I think that a lot of people don't realize, even if you're just drinking on weekends or whatever it is, a lot of people don't realize how much they escape from substance. So, I was stifling my growth and I didn't realize I was hiding behind substances a lot of the time, a
Wow.
lot of internal problems that I had or, things within my soul that needed to be released, but I wasn't facing them because on my free time I would have a drink. And, as soon as I like removed that from my life, there was nothing
You have
but just
nothing to
me,
hide in.
nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just me and my soul and who I'm meant to be all in a room.
Woo!
And
Yes.
yeah, I was forced to look at myself and, there was nothing to hide from, like you said. So a lot of deep questions I had to ask myself. I had to work through emotions that used to hide from. And I didn't know that it would make my spirituality so much deeper and profound. But I'm so happy that it did. And it was the first time I really had that connection with myself on that deeper level. Um, so, yeah.
Wow, Adam, you're bringing tears to my eyes because I know this work. I've done it and I've seen it in so many people, and I'm almost at a loss for words, but I will try because this is a speaking venue. Um, that hiding from our pain is rampant, of course, right? This is what addictions are about. It doesn't matter
Mm,
if it's gambling or relationships or one night stands or alcohol or drugs or being online. It's so easy to not feel our stuff and to not really sit with what's there. And the only way through or out, as they say, is through, right? And
mhm,
you hear this and you hear this and you hear this, but almost everybody, at least before the lockdowns, I would say, the lockdowns were a beautiful opportunity if people took it for that. They either Netflixed or they did their inner work. And it was like a forced almost sobriety, like you said. So for some people, it was a chance, almost forced to go deep and really do some of that healing work. And you cannot, let me rephrase that, you have to do it yourself. Nobody can do it for you. And so it feels overwhelming at times. It's like, that's big emotion in there. There are deep, deep patterns to excavate and look at, and things that really hurt and are really uncomfortable. And to hear you talking about that, the clarity that comes from sobriety in your case, and not having Because it's easy to go have a few drinks. Of course, it's socially acceptable. It's actually sometimes not socially acceptable to say no to that,
For sure.
right? So for you as
Yeah.
someone so young, I hope you don't mind my mentioning that, but honestly, a lot of people in their 20s are just partying their life away.
No,
And
it's true.
yeah, but what you're doing and you didn't know that you were doing is stepping into your power. Woo! Into your personal
Hmm.
power. And
Yeah.
look what you're doing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the pandemic and everything you brought up is a great
Hmm.
example too. We have so many distractions, whether it's, work, like you said, our phones these days are beautiful tools, but they can also be incredibly toxic, right? And just
Yes.
taking some time to yourself is so important, and it's not something that people really prioritize. But sitting in a room quietly with just yourself and getting to know yourself on that level is something that it's what you said, only you can do. And I think it's so needed. And sometimes people don't know they need that, but
Until
it's
they do
something that
it.
I exactly until they do it. So,
Yeah. But you can see it in someone when they are aligned, right? You use the word aligned a lot. And I love that you named your app Live Aligned because you not only use that word a lot, you value that concept because you have embodied it. And you
mhm,
continue to invest in yourself and your journey, and that alignment is what's bringing you that clarity. It creates a frequency, right? It's a clear frequency, it's a clear resonance of who you are and what you stand for and what you're up to and what you're stepping into. And so that's how you're attracting the people that are meant to help you,
for sure.
because
And
we
when you're
can't do these
aligned,
things
like,
alone. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, you're right. Like, we can't do these things alone. And when you're aligned, like, everything kind of works with you rather than against you. When you feel that friction or like you're pushing against
Mm.
something, sometimes it's because you're not aligned. If you take a second to do this work that we talk about and understand yourself a little better and get aligned, it seems like, there's a quote, the universe, when you really want something, the universe conspires in helping you
Yeah, I love that.
achieve it. And that's what it feels like. Everything kind of naturally flows. People who are meant to be in your life come into your life, and it just feels like it's meant to be happening. And it's a great feeling.
Yeah, you're stepping into your purpose. And so many people lack that purpose and they just kind of go day to day and have a groundhog day for the rest of their lives. And they don't really do this work. And to me, that feels like, I mean, everybody has their journey and we're all walking each other home, as they say, right? But
Hmm.
when you access this truth of yours, your heart, it's like it's such a win-win because you get connected to the quantum collective, so to speak, right? So you're just like the opportunities do show up and the right people do show up, but you also have this richer life that you didn't even know you would have because you're feeling alive all the time and you're present and you're not in your stories and you're not projecting and you're not in your patterns and worrying about the future. That's how you have the resources come to you. You're present.
Hmm. For sure. And you said two things that are really important. I just want to touch on. One thing is you talked a couple times about the journey home.
Mm.
What people don't realize is that all of this is within us. For myself, part of this journey, I kind of named it the resurrection of self,
Woo.
because it wasn't
Yeah.
just about, right? It wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
just about, finding this new part of myself. It was about refinding this new part of
Yes.
myself.
It's your
Um,
truest
and
self. You're just excavating. You're getting rid of the things that were never you in the first place.
Exactly, which oftentimes were, things we learned in the, exterior worlds, like these boxes we put ourselves in and these things that we pick up. But when I got really spiritual and I got sober, there was a part of myself that I remembered from when I was a young boy,
Mm.
right? And this energy that it wasn't new, it was something that was buried for so long,
It's
and it
just
was so
you.
beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, which is just beautiful. And then the other thing too, kind of building on that, is you talked about people looking for purpose. And I was someone who was kind of always scrambling to find my purpose. And I thought it would be outside in the material world. I thought that if I could build up a career that meant enough or go make enough money, I would find purpose. And I realized that looking outside for purpose was the wrong thing to do. It first needed to start with within. And once I, did that work and looked within, I had a lot of answers and I completely changed my path. And then once I was aligned within, then I can go to the material world to go do what I feel I'm meant to do from what I've learned within. So,
Right, exactly. I love everything that you're saying, and I love hearing that. I love seeing someone just wake up like that because you really are returning to the home is you. You already were all of this, right? And as we said, it gets obscured, it gets buried because we get taught so many things and ways to be, and we create the structure of self often in the achievement paradigm, right? You need to go, like you said, you need to go earn money, you need to prove things, you need to be somebody, but you're already everything. You already have it all.
exactly.
And those answers are so readily available when you, as you said, just get quiet and sit and heal what's there to be healed, see what's there to be shown to you. It's all from the inside. And then ultimately, in my experience anyway, you're in purpose all the time. Whatever you're doing, you're being in purpose behind that. And I know that's true for you.
Hmm. For sure. And with that being said too, when you're aligned and you're in purpose all the time, like you said, like one big thing for me is, and we're both like this, we just want to spread love and
Yeah.
positivity, right? So, I still do work in real estate while I'm building this app. And even in real estate, like everything just falls into place these days because when a human comes into my office and they want to purchase a pre-construction home, first and foremost, I am just trying to make their day better. I'm trying to spread that energy and love that I have. And people just feeling that genuine love for me that I'm actually trying to help them. It even helps them in that sense, in the real estate sense, in whatever way I can help them, it's easier to help them. So
It truly
it's a
does.
beautiful thing.
Love
Yeah.
is I mean, it sounds like a cliche or some sort of new agey thing to say, but love is the answer to everything. It's what we're
Hmm.
made of. And when we look at each other as humans first, I have the same experience. So I'm just as you are, still have some clients in real estate and chose to only keep those ones as I'm launching my podcast and all the things that I'm doing. So I know that we're on this journey and mission together. Keep the ones that are really resonant with me and that I love, but there are so many opportunities to share your heart. Like actually everything everywhere is an opportunity, but in real estate's a perfect example because when I started, instead of trying to achieve and crush it and be a top producer and all of that stuff, just work with people that I aligned with, but give my heart to everybody. Give them everything I can, every call I made. I had the most success ever because I was my true authentic self. I showered love on them. They know I care about them. There's something in the professional development world about having a facade, being a little hands off, being a little cool and, appearances. And it seems to work, but actually authentic connection, it works. And it's not a tool, it's not a strategy. It's genuine human connection. So much so to the point where I'm actually writing a course about that of how to talk to your sales leads like actually as a human because I don't think there's any training out there like that and it's so important. We all need connection. Everybody has felt isolated and the more we can help people just by osmosis with who we are and the energy we've cultivated, it's like it has a ripple effect. You don't even know those people who came into your office and maybe they didn't buy anything. And if they did, amazing, because of course you're amazing. But you just made their day better. And
Oh,
they
for
can go out
sure.
and pay it forward in ways you will never see.
And exactly that is the difference between, having that friction or having what they call imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like yourself
Yes.
because you're putting this facade up, rather than, attracting your dream clients and everything just feeling like it's supposed to happen and flowing for you rather than against you. Um, and it's so important. I wish more people knew that, and that's why we're
Well, that's
doing
what
this
we're
here.
here for, exactly, right? All my
Exactly.
clients are dream clients now. They just are because when you resonate as to who you are, I just love what you're saying. I just trying to pick out things, and we're moving so fast that I'm forgetting some of the things that you're saying. But, um, ooh, just gosh, I'm trying to remember the things that you said. The fact that you're talking about dream clients and imposter syndrome. So, again, authenticity and connection comes into play because you're naturally going to attract the people who resonate with you, and there will be people who don't, right? There are going to be people who want that's like realtor who is cool and casual and all over social media as the cool cat and just like deal 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 deal. Great, let him have his customers, let her have her customers. The people who are going to work with you, they're going to love you, they're going to genuinely care about you, they're going to refer you to people because you took such good care of them, and you won't have imposter syndrome. That was a really good point, because you're
Hmm.
just being your authentic self fully.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about alignment. That's what it is, right? Aligning every part of it, your professional life, all of it should be coming from your authentic self. But in the material world, sometimes we create misalignment by putting ourselves in these boxes, like we talked about, where they're not really us authentically. And we just need to get back to what we were talking about, kind of go home to who we are meant to
Yeah.
be. So,
And that's a great picture, right? When you're in boxes and you're not really being yourself. Whereas when you're your authentic self, there are no boundaries. I remember
mhm.
being on a thread once, and you and I may have even talked about this once, where it was a real estate group, and it was a thread, and someone was talking about a client, blah blah blah, and accidentally put on the thread, he said, I love you, or he said he had said this to a client. That's what it was. That he accidentally left a voice message for his client, and at the end of the message, he said, I love you, because it was habit from talking to his wife or whatever. And he was so humiliated, and I was happened, of course, yay, no coincidence, see this thread, and so started a whole new conversation about, but what's wrong with that? I mean, I know that it's not done, but I do it. My clients send me hearts and love all the time because they know I mean it. I love them. I may not say I love you, but I do, because they're humans and I love them. And that you're bringing me to something else too about imposter syndrome. I want to touch back in with that because I'm finding in this sphere, in personal development, in spiritual circles, um, there are people who are feeling imposter syndrome, which really surprises me. But this is a gift that we can give as well because they're not owning their gifts, the gifts that you came here with, the gifts that are divinely given to you. You have this unique blueprint for your soul and your personality in this lifetime. And you need to own that. You need to know, do the work to know who you are so that you can share your beautiful gifts with this world that needs you. And you, Adam, are doing that, which is why you don't have imposter syndrome. So, for anyone
Mhm.
listening, I know this is very common, and we're not just talking about in the business world where, oh my gosh, I'm going to pretend that I'm $1 million agent and I'm not. We're talking about the person that you are. The more you deepen your understanding of and touch in with who you really are, and you're that in the world, imposter syndrome doesn't even exist. And then we get to see your gifts. This is what you're doing. You know it.
Exactly. And that's, then you start to shine, then everything flows with you, and it's just a beautiful thing, it really is. Another thing too is, understanding how to do the work and how to face yourself. Like I said, I learned about personal
Mm.
development, in real estate for business, right? And what ended up happening was I became obsessed with personal development for the purpose of making money and creating those I guess those validations for myself. And I thought that if I read enough books about this and that, I would create this specific life for myself. And I was happy to have just found personal development, but at the end of the day I was still doing it for the wrong reason. And it wasn't until years later when, like I said, I actually faced myself for the first time. I stopped
Mm.
burying emotions. I actually took some time to be quiet with myself and stop the distractions and really learn about who is in there. When I actually started to kind of shift my goals, my perspective on all of it, now I do it for the sake of doing it. Now I do it for myself. Now I do it to help other people realize the same thing rather than doing it for money or doing it for accolades. So it's important the intention that you have behind it too, I think.
I agree. And I think the intention evolves as you evolve and deepens as you deepen. And I love what you touched on there because it's true for me and it's true for so many people that it starts as a personal development journey. This is how it tends to
Hmm.
go, right? You start reading all these personal development books and then you find something like the law of attraction type material and you start diving into that and it morphs into a spiritual journey because you start getting to know yourself and then it's not even that you're discovering spirit or getting more spiritual. It's that we are spirit, right? We are spirit embodied. And so you're becoming more and more yourself. As you said, you're getting to know who you really are. And those kind of crush it ways just they fall away and you're going to be successful in such a more impactful way by doing what you're doing now. The power is real now. It's not outside of you.
For sure. 100%. And I think a big thing that, we kind of forget or don't put into perspective often enough is that, we are not humans who have spiritual or celestial experiences. We are, celestial beings having a human experience, which is kind of going back to what you said about kind of going home, right? Real, resurrection of self, realizing who and what we actually are. And I think it might have even been you. You turned me on to Michael Singer.
Yes,
And
Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiment. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Untethered Soul itself, like he
so
does
good.
such a great job of explaining, the who we really are, and he explains that, we are not our thoughts, for example, this and that. If you take one step back, you realize that we are observing our thoughts. We are observing, everything out in the world, and if you think
Yes.
about who or what that is, like that is who you are, and that is that celestial spiritual being that we're experiencing human life through. So just even having that perspective and remembering that is kind of the first step in getting deeper with your spirituality and really realizing who and what we are and what we can do here.
Truly, truly, because when you're stuck in your thoughts and you think that's what's real, you actually don't even know yourself at all. People go through their entire lives, and I think that Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am," and people have taken that so much. It's been become such a part of our lingo in society that people don't even think until they see like you do. It's like it's an eye-opening experience, so to speak, that wait a second, these thoughts are not what the way it is. These thoughts are not
Hmm.
what is the truth. They're just thought patterns, and honestly, they're pretty nasty sometimes. This like the monkey mind they talk about, right? It runs in loops and it tells you things that aren't true, and it, like I said, it worries about the future. This mind that we have, it's made to be a tool, but we've made it the master. We've allowed it to be the master. And until you do that, like you said, Michael Singer is beautiful at that, just explaining and articulating how we build these structures and we think it's who we are and we think it's how things are. But here we are with this, we're just this glowing light, this consciousness, this love, this essence in behind it all. And until you sit quietly and let the chatter fall away, you don't actually step back from your thoughts. And when you do, it changes everything. That presence of witnessing changes everything. It's like being in two different universes on the same planet.
Oh, for sure. It really does. And it's so beautiful. You don't even understand what could come up when you do that. Like even myself, like from when I got sober and started this, taking this journey to another level, um, it is crazy how going from being in those thought patterns all the time and always worrying about something, or even though I've done the work to make my internal chatter more positive and better, you still shouldn't always be in that internal chatter. Like you said, it's not who we really are, even though we think it is, and anything through your mind is through the lenses that you've learned. So you need to
Yes,
kind of step back
lenses.
and get away from that, right? And even since, I've gotten sober and taken this huge spiritual dive, at first people were always saying, oh my God, like your skin is so much better. Like, what are you doing? Or like, oh, you seem like you're glowing. I hear all the
Yeah.
time. And I didn't understand it at first. And then, it's not only my personality and the energy and the love that is exuding out of me, like we've talked about,
It is.
like literally, if you look at a picture of me, you know, 2 years ago or a year ago, and you look at a picture of me now, you can see it in a picture. It is
Wow.
crazy. It's really crazy.
Wow,
So,
that's a great example to use for people. I mean, and maybe you do, maybe you say this all the time, but that's really amazing because it shows, it physically shows that you're glowing with love and the essence of what you are, whereas before you didn't even maybe know what that was. Most of us didn't. Why would we? We weren't taught that. We weren't taught this stuff. It's actually, if we had grown up in perhaps an indigenous society where they know, right? They're connected in with the earth. They know what we are. They're not pulling all these stories and living in this world that's completely fabricated. Then we wouldn't have lost touch with that, but we have. And so those of us who are deepening this understanding and accessing this truth, it shines out. And in in my experience, it works by osmosis as well. Just that glow that you have, that energy that you're exuding, it is impacting people even with no words.
oh, for sure.
Because we're energetic beings, we're beings of frequency, right? So as we can be impacted by dark and challenging sort of toxic frequencies, so too the frequency of light and love and all the things we're talking about is very, very powerful. And just one thing here, I have to say, I haven't always been comfortable talking about this stuff. I mean, I remember when I started learning about it myself and really deepening this knowledge that, wow, love is really the truth. I didn't talk about that on social media. Who goes around talking about love? It feels like sort of airy fairy or something, but when you really know that your open heart is the gift and it's the access, the gateway to everything, everything you ever wanted, everything this planet needs, everything our species needs, the truth of what we are, there's nothing more important to talk about.
Exactly. I'm so happy you hit on that too. That's a really big thing for me was at first I was embarrassed about all of this.
Especially as a
And
guy, right?
now,
Honestly?
yeah, a young guy too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm 25, and
Yeah.
like you said, a lot of the people my age group, even my friends, are going and getting drunk every night. They're going to clubs. Like it's all about this external experience, external, uh, whatever it is, look that they can create.
Chasing
And
things.
Exactly, and, it's just such a truth to me, all this stuff, like, I've learned, like I said, even those people, those are the people that are coming up to me and saying, like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you
Ooh,
glowing?" Like, I've had people approaching me asking about my sobriety left, right, and center, and one thing I'll
awesome.
touch on too is, like, with the sobriety, that is not kind of the end all be all or anything. What the sobriety did was allow me to do this work and
Yes.
allow me to,
Yep.
not
No
have those blocks or
distractions.
hide anything. Yeah, exactly.
No numbing.
Um, yeah, exactly. It just allowed me to be there with myself and then start this work. It was just really the beginning of it. Um, but yeah, it was embarrassing to talk about at first, but it's just
Yeah,
such
I
a
remember
truth to
that.
me that
Isn't that
I need
funny?
to talk about it.
Yes,
So,
please. Yeah, it's our joy to talk about it. It truly is because we know the impact it's had on us, right? Look how happy we are.
mhm.
Yes, we have challenges, but this is true inner joy because I believe, I know that. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm getting a call. They're going to have to wait. Um, life force that is in behind everything, that is everything. It's joy. Life force is
Mhm.
joy. Look at dolphins jumping, look at birds flying. It's actually joy. Anything else is a pattern, is a story, isn't true, right? And you actually started to answer the next question I was going to ask you because I was curious about your previous friends, shall we say, the ones you used to go partying with, and I was going to ask you if if you naturally fell apart or away from each other or and have new friends, because I'm sure, I know that you do have new friends. Of course you have a
Mhm.
growing sphere of influence and of people in your life, but how does that work, if you want to expand on that a little, with your old friends?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, naturally, I've changed so much this year. And naturally, priorities change. I don't prioritize going out. I prioritize staying in and reading. And, I prioritize being able to be clear and meditating in the morning
Yes.
rather than,
Yes.
a good night out. Those kinds of things, right? So a lot has changed. And, some friends I don't talk to as much anymore that used to be, my all day, every day kind of people. And,
Wow.
some of them it's just on a soul level I'll always be connected with. But, the new friends is the craziest thing. I didn't know about these communities, I guess you could say, before. And just from being in alignment and having this energy, it feels like I have attracted so many people. It is incredible. And I've created all these new friends, um, to the point, and mentors and everything, to the point where, I have so many friends, and a lot of my closest friends that I've met this year are in other places of the world, even. Like, I'm
Hmm.
hopping on Zooms like every day. I've met, like, even my mentors helped me through so many things. Just these people that have come into my life felt like they were meant to be in my life,
Ugh.
and this energy attracted them from, like, across the universe. Like, I have friends in all
Yeah.
over the world that I've found. So I don't
I
know how it
love
works. It's
it.
pretty
It's
crazy, but
incredible. Isn't the internet incredible? You kind of
oh,
just
yeah.
mentioned this before about how, we can be on our phones and it can be toxic, right? It can be a distraction from all the feelings and all the healing and all the things, but it's also such an incredible tool. It's how we find our soul
Mhm.
family these days. It's how we impact people. It's so amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny because even that's how it is with us. Like,
Yeah.
we actually worked at the same brokerage, because when you're a real estate agent, though, you don't really work as much with people in your
It's pretty
office.
much a
I
solo
don't know.
thing.
Yeah, so I don't know if we ever met in person or not. Maybe
I'm
we
not
did
sure
once
we
or
did.
twice. Yeah, and then but it was just from seeing each other's posts and, commenting on things here and there, and then we had a conversation and we realized how much we align, and it's
Hmm.
like even me and you, like, I feel so close to you, and
Ah,
we worked
same.
at the same brokerage, but, like, it was the
But that
technology
wasn't
that
the
connected
connection.
us. Yeah,
No.
exactly. So
Alignment is the
mhm.
connection. Yeah, I mean, I have soul family all around the world too. And I know people like my daughter, for instance, will say, like, what are you talking about? You don't even know these people. And I could go there and stay with them. And in fact, I have one of my soul family friends coming and staying with me tomorrow night. I've only met him in person twice, but even if I had never met him, I love him. We've had so many conversations. He will always be welcome in my home. We are
Mhm.
family. And I mean, isn't this what humans are meant to do? Create community? What else is there?
For sure. And, I say, what is the word? Soul tribe. Like, it's attracting your soul tribe. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, the people that you're meant to be in connection with. And that's why I find it so crazy. I don't know how I found a soul tribe all over the world. These people I hang out with all the time, I'm hopping on calls with all the time.
Yep.
And, what that I hadn't met some of these people. And, I went to LA this year and got an Airbnb and met them
Yep.
for the
Yeah.
first person, some of them. And it was like I
It's
knew
like
them
you've
my
known
whole
each other
life. Like,
forever.
yeah, because
Well,
it was
maybe
just
we
meant to
have.
be.
Maybe that's
So,
how it works. Maybe we agreed to meet in this lifetime. Once you access that true resonance of what you are, then you're naturally, I mean, you don't even need to know the how. You said you don't know how, but I think that things are orchestrated. To me, it seems like this giant kaleidoscope, and we're just playing our part. And the more clearly we play our role in this play, so to speak, um, the more easily the other pieces come to us. The kaleidoscope falls into place. I'm using all these different analogies, so it might get confusing, but because there are so many analogies possible,
yeah.
right?
Oh, for
They
sure.
find you.
I there's this analogy that I heard recently. It sounds kind of similar to what you're saying, and it's that, if the world is a puzzle and you are a puzzle piece, you need to be your puzzle piece. You
Yes,
shouldn't try and be
exactly.
anything else. You need to fit in the way you're meant to fit in,
Yeah.
and that's just by being yourself, and sometimes you
Yes.
don't know what that entails or what that'll bring you, but that's the beauty of it, is
And
that
you
being
don't
yourself
have to
will
know.
take you where you're supposed to. Exactly.
Yes, you don't have to know. In
Yeah.
fact, I think the more we try and call it, we get back into that achievement control, trying to control things. We actually can't. It's totally an illusion. And the more you recognize that and just flow and surrender, and, the untethered soul is beautiful at that. The surrender experiment, we talked about Michael Singer. Like, we really don't have control. So the more we just accept the way things are, and really just work on ourselves. And as you said, be that puzzle piece. There's no imposter syndrome. That's a really great invitation for anyone listening and watching. Is that puzzle piece is brilliant. It's so simple. It's an easy way to remember. Am I being the exact shape and size that I came here to be? Am I being the right, because you're just being your true self, so you can't get it wrong. The more you deepen your own knowing of self and be that, the more things are just going to work out for you. And it may not work out the way you think or the way you plan, but it will be, with everyone else in mind, the absolute highest, best scenario for all.
Exactly. 100%. And that's the thing, even with intuition and everything, like you have to follow whatever
Hmm.
feelings, those little voices you have in your head. You can't be putting yourself in a box and saying you're meant to be like this, which is some lens that you've picked up, or some
Yes.
personality that you've learned in the outside world. You're meant to be your authentic self, and that's that intuition that you have that you just need to follow. So,
That's a really great point, because I think you mentioned intuition as being a little voice in your head. And I've had conversations with people, with dear friends, who are trying to differentiate between the voice in their head that is the monkey mind and the voice that is the intuition, because the intuition can be quiet. It is sure and
mhm,
it is certain. And if you study something like human design or gene keys or things like that, it'll teach you how your intuition works and how your exact personality blueprint works in this lifetime, and what you should be listening to, and what is, it's called yourself and your not self, and how things work for you when they're in flow, and how you should be aligning with your own self to make things flow like that. But your intuition, for me, I find it in my heart. When I'm in my head, it's stories, it's projections, it's kind of garbage. When I'm in my heart, instant knowing, never wrong. It's
exactly.
always right. Always.
Mhm. I love that. And yeah, in your head, the voice in your head was the wrong words for it, because
Oh, it's
it's not in
okay.
your
It
head.
just
You're right. No, no, you're right though. It's just, I say in my head, but it's not in your head. Oftentimes where I find it, you said is in your heart. It's the same for me. I usually don't hear it, loudly enough until I quiet my thoughts,
mm-hmm.
until I allow myself that peace of mind of, just letting things be as they're meant to be, quieting my thoughts, sitting with myself, and that's when I hear it the strongest. So it's not our psyche talking; it's the energies above.
No. It's
It's
almost
not that.
a divinely given thing. I don't think it's even us. I mean, the more I do this work, the more I realize it's really not me. The things that are happening now are happening through me, as me, but it's not me. It's just
Yeah, I
the way
agree.
that the system works. And so
Hmm.
the more quiet your mind is, and you're in your heart and you're silent, it's it's so obvious that it's intuition. I remember I had a New Year's resolution, gosh, 2 or 3 years ago now. So we're just coming up on New Year's again. And I don't do resolutions anymore. I don't do goals. I don't do any of that stuff. I just respond to what shows up. With my intention is to be love. My intention is to be my true self. So that's pretty cool. And some people are still trying to get me to create goals lists and break it down into, it's just not going to happen, because I can't call it, because I'm going to follow the hits. I'm going to follow the intuition. So all I was saying was that I made this New Year's resolution to see if that was a real thing, to deepen and nurture and try and understand, explore the concept of intuition. I'm getting shivers just talking about it, because the more I did that, the more it was crystal, crystal clear. So, just again, for anybody listening and watching, know that you have this and that it can be nurtured. It can be deepened and expanded, and to the point where it's the loudest voice you hear. Because now I get hits all the time. Like, I can be walking along the street and it'll say, "Don't go that way." Like, just, I don't even need to know why. I've learned to trust it so many times, because I've gone against it sometimes, and sure enough, something wrong would happen. Or I've followed it so many times now that exactly what I was hoping for, or a beautiful connection happened, that now I surrender. I'm like, okay, you guide me and I will follow. It's amazing.
That is such a great example, and I'll even go so far as to say a practice. Like, to learn about this and to understand this, and meet your spirituality more, meet have that resurrection of self moment. Um, there's so many things like we talked about, being quiet and allowing the thoughts to quiet. Meditation is amazing. But I would go so far as what you just said. Do that as a practice. Go on a walk and
Mm,
just allow your heart to guide the way. Don't know where you're gonna go
that's
first,
what I
just let it
did.
take you. And that's like practicing, listening to that intuition. And once you
Yes.
practice that, you'll be able to hear it more frequently, louder, and it's a beautiful thing. So just doing something like that to kind of teach yourself to follow the intuition
Yeah, it's actually the
will take
perfect
you
way
so
to do
far.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
exactly. I
It
love
really
that. I'm
works.
gonna
You'll
do that
notice, like,
today.
go this way, go like you can stand at an what's that?
Oh, no, I said I'm gonna do that today, like, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
I
go
might
for a
do the
walk
same a
and
bit
see
later
where it
too.
takes me.
Because
Yeah.
it's even though we've done it and we've practiced it, it's a great thing to do right now or this weekend or whatever. Because you can't do it enough. You can never do it too much, right? And it gets that practice present again. And you can stand on a corner and literally say, "Which way do you want to go?" And you're just asking your higher self, or you're asking for guidance, and you'll hear. The more you do it, the more you'll hear. And it's fascinating the little magic moments that happen. You'll start seeing synchronicities. Like you'll start seeing signs and synchronicities that keep you following those hits. It's really cool.
Oh, it's so amazing, for sure.
And that's how you meet the people. And that's how you draw in the investors. And that's how, all the amazing things happen that you're meant for in this lifetime.
Oh, for sure. A quick example, actually, it's kind of reminding me that I've read, I think close to 40 books this year on personal development,
Yep.
spirituality, all of these things. And I read a book and it just resonated with me in my heart so much. So I decided, instead of putting it with all of my other books, there was just something in me that said, put this book on your nightstand. Just like put it on your shelf. So instead of putting it in my office with all of my other books, I just put it on my nightstand, kind of on display. And every day I would wake up and I'd look at it. And when I'd go to bed, I'd look at it. And then this is so crazy. But so that book, I ended up, through that author, winning a contest to meet
Woo!
who's my now mentor. And then that mentor, he's an amazing individual. He helped me get sober. He flew me out
Wow.
to LA, and I
Nice.
actually ended up meeting the author of that book that was on my nightstand. I got to read a poem at his event, and I met like a bunch of people that, like, it's part of that group that I said I feel like I was meant to know these people, and it was
Woo.
just this weird
And the
intuition that
first
started
hit
of
was
like.
keep this book on your nightstand.
Exactly, and, like, to see what it grew into is just insane, like, I couldn't believe it, but that's a good example, right?
That's a
Just this little
great
hit.
example. And
Yeah.
that's a great example of what it feels like is that little hit. Keep this book. It's like that book, like a corner or one direction or another, has a little more power to it, a little more energy. You can just feel it and it's saying keep me here. And I was laughing when you were talking about it because I do the same thing. I have different 2 or 3 books on my nightstand at one given time based on just what wants to be there. It sounds crazy, but it isn't because it's always the right thing. It always leads to something else. And when something has had its moment, it goes back on the bookshelf. Like it's so funny how everything has energy to it when you start tuning
Mhm.
in.
Yeah, and it's this crazy ripple effect that happens, like, who
Yeah.
knew that putting that book on that bookshelf would end up having me flown out to LA to meet the author and, like, meet all these people, and, like, it's crazy, who knows where it's gonna go, but,
I love it.
yeah,
I love how this is stuff we're still saying it's crazy how this works, but it's actually how it works. And any
it
other thing
is.
is crazy. To think that you can control things is crazy. To try and find love or satisfaction or, fill a void from outside is crazy. What we're learning is actually the most sane, rational, true way of living that is possible.
Mhm,
So maybe someday
and
we'll have a
it's so
conversation and we
beautiful.
won't be. Maybe we should stop saying it's crazy.
Yeah, honestly, I know,
Let's
we need
do
to
that
fix our
right now.
vocabulary around that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's not
You know,
crazy.
I say crazy because it still blows my mind, but I do think of it
I
or
do
I know
too.
it as a truth, but it's mind blowing.
I use the word crazy too, and I'm just catching us doing that so that we don't do that anymore because it's almost like we're saying it's unbelievable or,
Uh-huh.
but it is. It reminds me of one time when probably was in Hawaii and this gorgeous sunset was happening and all this so stunning. And I caught myself saying, what was it? I said, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I can't take it. I was like, well, caught it. And it's really good to catch yourself in your words. I can take it. I do not limit the beauty
Mhm.
that shows up or the abundance or the resources and the people. I can take it. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. And I never said that again because it was like, oh my gosh, I can't take this. Like I'm at my limit of amazingness. No, 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 no. So it's fun to catch yourself. Words matter, even though they don't really, but they do because you're putting yourself in a box, as you say, by the words that you speak, or
Exactly.
you're opening that up.
And that's another practice for anyone listening to take into their own life. Like, really be intentional about what you say. And when you start to become aware of these things you're saying, think about if you align with that. Like you just said, like saying that you can't take something is just a common phrase you hear out there that you took, and then you said it in a moment where it didn't align with what was actually happening. So, changing your vocabulary around everything will really help you access this love and these deeper feelings and everything there is out there that's meant to be. So,
Amazing. Well, I'm so grateful for this conversation. And to know that you are out there just walking this earth at the same time as I am brings me so much joy and gratitude. And I know, like I know, that we have things to do together in this world. And I was just checking with my notes as you were talking there. And one thing I guess I want to ask you about is you consider yourself a change maker. I consider you a change maker. You're here to change the world. You're on a mission. And I asked you about that at the beginning of the call. And I want to know what this means to you. I want to know what kind of change you want to make. I want to know what it means to you being in your heart and doing this work in the world.
I
It's
think
a big
this work
question.
is incredibly important. Yeah, thank you so much. It's honestly an amazing question. And I think this work is so important. And I think that some people can be embarrassed about it, like we said, and some people can shy away from it or think, woo woo or, any of these things.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important. And as you said, I was embarrassed at first myself, even, but as it became just this truth, like I couldn't hear anything but it, I knew that I
Mm.
needed to share it. And it's taking on all these forms that I never knew it would. I never knew sobriety would be in the question. I started my app and this whole journey far before that came, but like I said, that tripled my experiences and the depth at which I'm going into all of
Mm.
this. Um, and it's continuing to define itself in new ways. But I think at the end of the day, even just the energy I have and other people seeing it and me talking about this stuff like I do, I hope and I think and I know actually that other people are hearing this, and it's going to change someone's perspective. It's going to give someone some tool that they use that, maybe they'll find a book and they'll listen to that intuition next time and it'll lead them down their own path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's really the change I want to make is I want people to know about this work. I want
Mm.
to have help people to have that kind of experience of self-resurrection and finding that alignment and living in flow and having the universe conspire to help you towards what you're meant to do. And this is part of it right here is just doing this stuff. And I think that a lot of people are gonna start their journey that we're on and be who they're meant to be, where they're meant to be, meet the people they're meant to. If we continue to share this, if we continue to teach people about this, I think it is important that, I'm a bit younger and I'm a
Yes.
male living in
Yes.
Toronto and all
Yes.
that. This perspective, I think, is needed in this world. Um, and I'm
Without
excited to
question.
continue to see where it takes me. So.
Oh, Adam, thank you. That was so beautiful. You're just my, ah, you're, you're putting tears in my eyes again because I can feel your heart and I can feel your passion. And it seems to me that this is the only work that matters now. It really is on this planet. Everybody needs us to be in our hearts and sharing our gifts. And you are doing that so beautifully. And conversations like this are bridges and permission slips where people didn't even know they needed a permission slip to step into their own selves and to do their own work. Because I love the way you keep using the word resurrection of self, the phrase resurrection, because it implies that kind of dead inside feeling that you have. And that's really sad when you're not present to your heart. It feels really crappy. You're in a lot of pain. And the truth is that this work there is pain because you're dealing with your wounds, right? You're healing like some really tough inner stuff. But the results are so beautiful, and you are walking permission. You're a walking demonstration of what is possible when you go through the fire and you do your work and you just like exude love, and the joy that you are sharing and the work that you're doing, the impact that you're having are the tangible results that people can see as to why they too would want to do this. You're the demonstration.
Thank you so much. And
Yes.
for sure, 100%. I
You're
love
the
it.
embodiment of it. I love it. I love you. I'm grateful for you. So before we end, just tell me anything you'd like to know about where people can find you, and then I'll send you back to the green room and I'll see you in a minute. But anything else you want to share and where people can find you?
For sure. So my personal Instagram at Adam of Venus. Reach out to me too. You know, like I said, since I've been on this journey, a lot of people have been reaching out, asking me questions. I'm so here to help in any way I can. So always feel free to reach out. And you know, my app is launching soon. www.livealigned.app is where you can find our pre-launch website right now, which will change soon. But there will be a ton of resources for you to learn all about this and more. And I'm excited to help whoever I can on their own journey. So thank you so much for having me. This was such an incredible
Beautiful.
conversation as always. Like you said, you know, we have a lot of work to do together, and we're meant to have, you know, been here doing this right
Yes.
now. And I'm so excited about all of it. So
Gorgeous. Thank you, Adam. And I will put these links in when I publish these. They'll be, everyone will be able to find you. And you are up to big things in this world, my friend. You are spectacular and needed. So thank you for being so fully, thoroughly your beautiful self. I'm going to send you off for a moment, and I'll be right with you.
thank you, Shauna.
Thank you. Okay, that's a wrap with Adam of Venus. And I know that everyone could feel that because I just was so touched and moved by Adam's words. And even if you're just listening to this on a podcast as opposed to watching the interview, I hope and I trust that you can feel what Adam is bringing to the table and bringing to this world, because his essence is really powerful. And my goodness, he's only 25. The stuff that he's up to is going to be so impactful and already is. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'm just going to run our little outro so you can find us here as well at Leading with Love, and just so much love and gratitude. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it helped you open your heart, feel inspired, and know that we are all connected. Please subscribe and share so this work can touch more people. This is how we co-create the world we want to live in. Thank you so much again for joining us, and talk to you next time.